live for our meeting on Monday, March 24th, 2025, for the Columbia School District March Business Meeting.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good news.
Okay, some great news. Talked about this kind of informally, but want to officially congratulate our high school boys basketball team for winning our first state championship in school history. So you'll hear a little bit about that, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. They're going to follow up on that, but I just wanted to make sure we recognize those individuals. We've had an event, and again, you'll hear about that a little bit later, but just really exciting news, first time ever for our district, so wanted to celebrate that.
Awesome. Okay, you want to hold this?
We certainly can. Try it again next month. Okay, so we'll pull the board reorganization, we'll move that off to April's board meeting.
Okay. Board operating principal review. I'll do the board. Todd, we do superintendent. Nakia, will you do administration? Haley, will you do all?
Yep.
Okay. Board. Establish strong and fair policies related to the evaluation of all Columbia School District staff. Serve as a role model to staff by evaluating the effectiveness of board operations and superintendent.
Superintendent, support board policies regarding evaluation and approach your own evaluation, as well as the evaluation of those you supervise with a serious intent, work toward improvement.
Administration, serve as a role model to those you supervise through your own willingness to be evaluated.
All commit to being supportive of each other's need to be recognized and rewarded for achievements, as well as being counseled and assisted with concerns about when concerns about a performance arise. Commit to being proactive in your own education, growth, and development, and be supportive of the growth and development of others.
Okay. To the agenda.
We don't have any changes. Tonight's agenda will read out just like it is in your packet and your agenda in front of you.
Moving on to the consent agenda. 4 items.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second it. I would note that I can't find it here. I wanted to comment on this briefly.
Personnel or
Find it.
which one?
Yes. It would be interesting, I think if we add up those 4 people who are leaving, I'd say there's about 120 years of collective experience there going away.
I don't have the exact numbers, but yes, I mean, it's a vast.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was worth mentioning.
We had several of those folks that have been here for many, many years, and will be this next year. All of them moving on to retirement.
Well, though.
Yeah, they served our district well.
Is that second, Michael?
Yep.
Okay. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Okay.
Okay, hearing of visitors. Anybody like to address the board today? Please.
We will. Yeah. Okay.
Just help us understand who you are and.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Yesenia Escalante. I have a niece who just started school here, maybe 3 weeks ago. And so the reason I'm here is because we haven't really gotten much results from an incident that happened. Not sure who's aware and who's not. She was being on campus. We do have a protection order in place. So I'm just wondering, I'm concerned and for the safety of my niece and for the safety of other students who attend this school, just because of the way things are being addressed in my situation. So I'm here, I want to know, what can we do or how can we proceed with the situation?
Sure. Did I speak with someone?
You spoke with me.
Okay. I would, if there's specific things I could answer. I don't want to be sensitive to the situation, obviously, because we're talking about, individual students and things like that, and there's a board meeting being recorded, obviously, so personal information, I don't want to get specifically into those pieces, but if there's something that I could address that wouldn't be specific to students' names or the incident, I'd be more than happy to address that. The other one would be, I'd be more than happy to sit down and meet with you or any one of you to address that further. I know we've talked a little bit, but I'd be more than happy to follow up on any of those pieces, so.
So a general question, if we have a restraining order or protection order in place with 500 feet, how do you accommodate a student?
Just based on that paperwork, we follow that paperwork.
Okay, for the student who has placed a restraining order or for the students who have offended?
I would have to look at the specifics on that paperwork, but if it's specific and there's directions to the 500 feet, we'd have to make sure there's 500 feet. We're just ruled by the paperwork on that.
Okay, so to my concern, I don't really feel like things are being followed by the paperwork. So maybe after the meeting, we can schedule a personal meeting so we can go over everything?
Is your name and number and all that information on the sign-in sheet when you come in?
My name is on there, but not my phone number. I'll put it on.
Include that on there, I'd be happy to. schedule
More than happy to,
with
thank you.
any and all of you.
Okay.
I can get you copies of that paperwork too.
Okay, thank you. Anything else that could help?
Yesenia?
I was gonna say, yeah, anyone else? I mean,
That was all, thank you.
we do appreciate you coming, I do appreciate that, so, thank you. Anyone? Thank you again for being here tonight.
Moving on. Reports and discussions?
Okay, I'm gonna hand this over to our student representatives for our March presentation.
Okay, for the high school, a lot of stuff going on. Boys are official state champions. That is so exciting. Like, it's just so exciting for everybody at our school. Like, we know these people, and we got to go to school with these people. Like, we actually made history, and that's just, it's really hard to fathom, actually. It's really hard to grasp. And, like, being there, too, is absolutely insane. I know the boys are so excited, and their coaches are so proud, and everybody just is so excited about it. And Quincy Scott won Athlete of the Year and for WIA, and so did Mr. Shoemaker. He won Coach of the Year, which is super exciting. Super proud of them. But yeah, it was just unreal. Absolutely unreal. I'm so excited. I got to be there and cheer for it. It's a really exciting opportunity. Our spring sports have started, so softball, baseball, and track. Softball is doing so great. We're kicking freaking butt. And we're 4-0. Our most recent game was against White Swan, and we won the first game 20-1 and the second one 21-1. So we're doing pretty good. Our coaches, Brent Nye and Brian Mellenbacher and Brooklyn Cole, they're so amazing, and I love them, and they're doing a really good job. Baseball is struggling a little bit. They're 1-4, but you know what? They're keeping their heads up, and that's what's important, you know. Track has only attended one meet this season, and those are all individual records, so I can't really tell you all of those, but I think it went well. I didn't hear any bad stories, so. We had a parade in honor of winning the state championships. That was so much fun. There was like fire trucks and a bunch of cars in line, and we went all around Burbank, which does not take long because it's not very big. But that was super fun, and
A little over an hour, though. At that
it was
speed.
freezing. It was freezing, especially in our cheer uniforms. I was very cold. I did bring a blanket, though. I was prepared. And Mr. Curtis fell off of the trailer and broke his tibia. So that is a total bummer. Sending my thoughts and prayers his direction.
I wouldn't say fell off.
He jumped off. He did jump off. He had a restroom emergency and jumped off the trailer. He's just a very smart man. End of the quarter is coming up.
Continuing, yes.
Yes, moving on from Mr. Curtis. End of the quarter is coming up on Friday. That'll be the end of third quarter. I feel like it went by really fast, but grades are coming out. That's a little bit of a stressful time because that means school year's almost over. And then we just had a meeting. The sophomore class puts on Sadie's every year, and we decided it'll be on April 19th. And then juniors put on prom, and I believe is it May 3rd or May 10th?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. It's May 3rd. So they're kind of close together, but we decided the Sadie's themes would be pajama themed. Have a little pajama jam because prom is right after, so we didn't want to. And then the theme for prom is like disco dudes and something or another. I don't know. It sounds fun. Sounds pretty groovy. Middle school spring sports will start after spring break. But not sports related things. PTO put on a dance. I heard it was not that popular. But when I was in middle school, no one wanted to go to dances either, so it's not the PTO's fault. But the PTO is also planning a color run, which I think will be their last event for the school year. A group of students went to CBC for the Association of Washington Student Leaders Middle Level Region Conference, which I don't really know what that means, but it sounds like a place where they learn some sort of leadership skills, which sounds great.
ASB leadership activities. Yep.
Elementary school, the PTO put on bingo night and raised over $2,000 for Miss Williams, which is really exciting. That's really great news. And they're planning for an AR party. Only one basketball player showed up to help, which was a little disappointing, but Caden Ross is a great guy. He's a great guy. But it's not specific to elementary school, but junior crowd football is being put on. My parents took it over. It's 7-on-7. It's K through 8. They have a lot of volunteer coaches. Some of them are high schoolers. So that'll be a really good for the community, I think. And we're hoping in the fall, I'm hoping to start a junior cheerleading program for the fall. That'll be exciting. And I think that's all I have for the schools.
There's not a lot going on with the clubs this far into the school year, but FBLA just has their monthly campus cleanups, and they're on their way to state. They leave April 23rd, and we'll be there for 3 days, so 23rd to 26th. Knowledgeable had their state competition on March 22nd. They got 9th place, which is pretty good. I think that's pretty good. Honor Society has students volunteering at the Burbank Grange every Sunday. Very nice people. Betty is very nice. The greenhouse is coming up, so a bunch of Honor Society students are volunteering to help Miss Kirkendall with the plant sale. Yeah. And then they're hosting a campus cleanup during spring break. We have the blood drive further into the year, and then graduation, which we volunteer all week to help the graduation with flyers, another campus cleanup, and a bunch of other things.
I just recently went to the Grange for my first time, and that is no joke. It's a lot of work. So shout out all the Honor Society kids who do that every week, because it's really a lot. But they're really nice people that go to the Grange. Somebody won the raffle and gave it to McKenna, because there's just really nice people out there. It was a beautiful moment, beautiful community moment. That's all I have to say about that.
It's 5 hours long. It's hard to wake up that early.
And it's hot and sweaty.
Yeah. And then you smell like food after. Drama Club and Dungeons and Dragons are on the same thing since last month. Very busy. FFA has their AgMech practice, and they're very involved with the middle school. They're trying to recruit their new 7th and 8th graders for next year, which is cool. I didn't know they went down there to do a presentation. I think that's a good idea, which I think I should present to FBLA.
FFA, I think, is also having some sort of plant sale, some sort of cactuses, I believe. That's all I know about that. My friend got poked with a cactus, that's how I know.
Anything else for our student reps?
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Want to look at enrollment and budget status as we move on into reports? Okay, so enrollment, you can see last month we were at 743, we're at 741, slightly down. But you can see our year-end average is still 744 for the year. general fund. You're continuing to see that work its way down towards that estimated 1.6 by the end of the year, but we're still at 1.8 million at the end of February. Capital projects, we're at a booming $216,000 for capital projects. Debt services, $262,000 for our debt services. Reminder that'll come and go, paying off our debt throughout the year. ASB, we're up to $186,351. Busy time of the year, kind of finishing up. So ASB teams and clubs got a lot of stuff going on, so you'll see that start moving around. Transportation vehicle fund, we're at $39,651. We're expecting a decent transportation payout in August for some of those buses, because we'll be looking to purchase some additional buses as early as next year, so just keeping that on your radar. Any questions on the financials? Not hearing any. Before I introduce Mr. Miller, who obviously you know, you're gonna hear, I don't wanna steal all your thunder, so I'm just gonna make it very short, but I appreciate the work he and his entire staff have gone through recently. You're gonna hear something called accreditation, talked a little bit about. If you're familiar with accreditation, you already know it's something that it's really, we'll call it insurance for our high school students' credits. But it's not an easy process, and I appreciate Kyle and their building team navigating through that process recently. He'll walk you kind of through that process, but it's a lot of work. And so I don't want that to seem like, take it lightly as if it's something just, you know, check that box. It's weeks and weeks of planning with on-site visits, and then he does another off-site piece to this, so it's a pretty heavy lift that I don't want us to lose sight of. So I'll let him tell you more about that, but they have just completed a big bulk of that process. He still has one more step to do. So, Mr. Miller, I'll let you jump into your presentation.
Thank you. The first part, I wanted to do iReady scores just for a minute or two. This sheet looks like that, the pie chart in the Boise State University colors. And I only included the sophomores this year because we have almost, not quite a full rotation with them, but they were first tested fall of 2023, and they just finished a test at the end of January. We've got a little over a year and a semester, I guess, worth of testing to try and get a sequence to compare. And you can see there's growth, you know, mean score for that same student group from last fall to this winter is a year's growth, 6th grade level, 7th grade level. Certainly would like to see higher. One caveat, when you look at the pie charts, those pie charts are in terms of on level, almost on level, the orange, and but they are targeted at that level. So, for example, the 2023 on level means at the 9th grade level. 2025 one on level means at the 10th grade level. So you don't see a lot of growth, but just inherent in the pie chart is a full year's growth, which pretty clearly achieved. Top two are reading, bottom two mathematics, same scenario, same setup. Actually, for the beginning student, got a 2-year growth in the world of mathematics. Now, a year ago when I presented, I kind of mentioned some of our special population program kids, and the one thing that frustrated me about iReady was if they are in that gray category, they could have significant growth and they're not going to show up. And it was brilliant Mr. O'Brien who said, well, I'd like to know more about what does the growth look like in those categories, even if it doesn't get them to grade level, right? So we targeted those out in the English language learner and the students on IEP, individualized educational programs or special services, special education. And between the fall of 2023, and then this last January, on average, our English language learners in reading, 3 years worth of growth, an average fourth grade, which is pretty awesome. in just over a year. Mathematics, 2 years growth, just over 57. Pretty cool. And students served by special education, you've got second grade to fifth grade in reading and third grade to fifth grade in mathematics. So better growth out of those kids than our non-special population kids. It shows that, however, sadly, all of them would still be in the gray portion pie chart, even with some pretty stellar growth. Questions on that?
Good.
And thank you, Mr. O'Brien, that was I'm glad you brought that up last year. A good thing to take a look at, maybe we'll happen. Okay, so Columbia High School accreditation, and by the way, what you have in front of you packet-wise is our school's improvement plan put together for the accreditation cycle. A little tiny bit about what is accreditation. Columbia High School's been accredited continuously since 1971. I have some suspicion it was accredited prior to that, but not continuously accredited. Now, in 1971, when states and Washington State didn't make heavy dictates on what school districts taught, accreditation was kind of a great insurance policy. Because having a national or regional accreditation meant that a school of higher education, such as you, Perry Tech, what have you, was assured that you offered certain things. You offered multiple years of algebra, you offered technical writing, yada, yada, yada. Since then, the state has dictated more and more and more and more, which is why a lot of schools don't bother with it anymore. The last principals meeting that I went to, there were 16, 18 of us from the UWAC, Eastern Washington Athletic Conference, and South Central Athletic Conference. There were 16 of us, and of those in the group, 3 of us still go through the accreditation process. It's, as Mr. Holbrook alluded to, it's time-consuming, can be pretty rewarding, but also isn't super cheap. The first year that I was here, we paid about $1 per FTE for our accreditation annually. It's 6-7-fold since then. One of the things that they ask you to do is to have a leadership team. I was lucky enough to secure some stellar volunteers, and leadership team specifically came up with this as their mission statement, wanting to guide the staff and guide the students and guide their own entity towards inclusion and growth. That was actually written by a leader type that I hope when I grow up I can be almost as good as, and that's Mr. Alley. He leads our leadership team. And that's them. Luckily, we already had a pretty solid group of volunteers in place for MTSS and PBIS. So they were happy enough starting spring of last year to just sort of morph into this as well. They're going to do double duty with the MTSS and the accreditation. Demographic profile, that is not turning up the way. I'm missing some stuff. But I think I can do it from memory. The different charts there. Mentioned when I first showed up in this wonderful place. We probably choiced in 4 students, choice in 10, 12 times that now. Our student population was about 95, 96% Caucasian. And probably the biggest discrepancy or the biggest difference between then and now, Cheryl Stebrel was our ELL, English Language Learner instructor, dealing with our migrant and bilingual populations. I believe we had 4, not 4%, 4 kids. If you fast forward years now. 47% represents our Caucasian student population, 49% are Hispanic Latino, 1% Black, 1%. Gosh, do you remember, Kev? I don't know why it didn't pop over. We have Native American, excuse me, is 1%, and then 2% consider themselves mixed, multi-ethnic backgrounds. So our demographics have drastically changed. Another part of our demographics that have drastically changed is our free and reduced lunch population. It was 15–18%. High schools were historically under reported for whatever reason, probably because kids can go to the gas station and buy a burrito instead of getting school lunch, but we are pushing 60% free and reduced lunch population now. So our demographics have very drastically changed in a variety of ways. One of the things that made this rotation of the accreditation cycle pretty slick was the Center for Educational Effectiveness survey that Mr. Hilberg levies every so often. Yearly. Because we were able to use last year's CEE data for a ton of our school improvement needs and a ton of the data we have to provide them. Additionally, we do quite a few surveys, freshman survey specifically about acclimating to the high school, counselor surveys, Haley Kosak, Annie Aguilar, and Emily Jones all do multiple surveys on students per class, comfort, equity, etc. In the educational pathways, one of the things you'll see that they gave us a lot of kudos on is our efforts to try and keep kids on campus. One of our goals is all about equity. One thing we knew a dozen years ago is that our middle class white and middle class and above white students went to Running Start. And probably shouldn't have been such a shock. If you have a car that your parents provide you and gas that your parents provide you, you got a good shot at going to Running Start. If you don't, you don't. So we had, over the course of several years, starting about a dozen years ago, no minority, no free and reduced lunch, no special population students able to get dual credit. Wasn't an option for them because transportation wasn't an option for them. You all were wonderful enough to help fund the dual credit of college and high school on our campus. Between what we partner with Eastern, what we partner with Walla Community College and CBC even, we have 15 dual credit offerings right on our campus that cost kids nothing. And now I believe the state actually picks up that bill. You guys were kind enough to do that for quite a few years. But that's in an effort to not only keep our best and brightest on campus as much as possible, but to provide for kids who don't have that option of jumping in a car provided by mom and dad and gunning to CBC every day. And obviously, we have the other options up there. That's just one that I love to highlight from the equity piece that we have. Identified needs and goals. That's what we broke things down to based on our surveying. Data. Enhancing student well-being, strengthening community connections, promoting equity and access, supporting freshman success, and advancing student achievement. Some of those things you probably see on just about anybody's school improvement plan. Supporting freshman success is going to be a big part of any high school. Unless, of course, they don't have freshmen at the high school, then it's going to be supporting sophomore success. Next up, we've got the different goals. Probably won't go into a ton of detail on that. I do have these in your packets, and they have the SMART goal with the action statements and the timelines attached. If I go through this quickly, please stop me if this is a question. conferences next year are going to be pretty stellar for parent communication. I'm pretty excited to be jumping on the bandwagon with conferences. We hope to do a lot with parents. We hope to do a lot with our high school and beyond planning as well. Student growth. Staff has been stellar this year. We had a goal that everybody gets distinguished with their student growth plans, their student growth goals. I was into this. I hope we will get there. Safe environment. Yeah, we obviously heard a little bit about a frustrating bullying incident that happened a couple of weeks ago. We have that one dealt with pretty well. Attacked it pretty hard. In general, and our students. It's at school. The counselors that you all provide us, they keep busy. Anti-bullying, fitting in, getting along, feeling confident, feeling comfortable, and feeling equitous. That's been a huge role in getting us to this point, so thank you for that commitment. Freshman transition, you're gonna see this pretty much any school because that's the most vulnerable group of kids you have, the ones that just transition into high school. Our Link Crew program hopefully will be up and running, and we'll get those kids all hooked up with a mentor. Intervention sessions have definitely made some positive connections, and hopefully getting kids on track with getting their work done as well. Final SMART goal, inclusive diversity. This was kind of a funny one because we got really patted on the back. I'll show you the accommodations and recommendations, but we got patted on the back for all of the work we've done in inclusion, diversity, equity, etc. And then told, you know, in this day and age, I don't know if those are words you want to use. So you're proud of us or you're not proud of us? Which one? Oh, keep it the way it is. Just, you know, be careful. If the Department of Education goes away, you might have to change that. This stuff's all pretty self-explanatory. It's how we're getting to where we need to be. And I'm sorry, Kev, I told you I was going to ask you to jump in, and then I never asked you to jump in.
Doing great.
Self-learnings, I don't know. Shocked by anything that we learned through the surveying and compiling process. I think, we know where our challenges lie. We know the work that's going to take to continue toward them. But it's a great process. It gives you fodder for staff meetings and getting people on board. And finally, the committee that came out was the ex-superintendent from Walla Walla, Mick Miller, the ex-superintendent from Finley, and present superintendent from Star, I believe, Lance Hahn, and then Terry Kessy, who was a longtime principal at Chiawana and a CTE person prior to that. They met with, they did quite a bit of investigating around the school and supplies, materials, curriculum, etc., and then met with a group of parents, met with a group of students, and met with a group of staff. I did really find the equity as being both a pat on the back and a be careful if things change, you might want to adjust. It's kind of an interesting one. They had a lot of real positives. Some things that didn't even make it up on the list. Facilities. I said, wow, this place is 25 years old. Parts of this place are far more than 25 years old. I think obviously there's some broken tiles and the like, but in general, that's a pretty stellar facility. Pretty amazing. Especially now that the roof doesn't leak after 24 years. So thanks, Mr. Hilbert, for that. A couple of the things that they have kind of pushed us to explore. They weren't fond of the singleton version of PLC structure like Mr. Sajewicz. music instructor. Wanted me to, us to try and figure out a way to incorporate them into a professional learning community a little bit better. Tough spot. Kind of expected something like that. They liked our MTSS PBIS work and said, continue, keep going, you're doing a good job. SMART goals, I thought this was a funny one. We talked about that quite a bit as a leadership team. We want better measurement at our SMART goals, but ironically, we used their format. So, I think we get a pass on that one. Consider language of equity in our plan if changes need to be made in the future. I'm not sure if they're foreseeing the future or not, but we'll roll with it. And then intervention is probably the biggest ticket item. This year we're sort of piecemealing intervention every Monday throughout the day. Historically, we've had it as a block set of time once a week for 45 to 50 minutes, and everybody seems to like that better. So that was a strong recommendation to get a specific extended block of time.
Questions from Mr. Miller, the process?
I was focused on this before we give a little extra time. What is the, maybe I missed, what's the benefit of the accreditation? Can you touch on
Sure.
what you're getting out of it? I mean, you said it's quite a bit of resources, time, money, all that.
Time. Again, historically, I think, back in the day where local control was far bigger than it is today, accreditation meant quite a bit. Because it told institutions of higher education that you reached a standard that somebody set, and if a kid went to that school, they could expect minimums of what they're capable of. They'd been exposed to MLA format, they've been exposed to second-year algebra, etc. The state just dictates so much more now. I mean, our 24 credits that we have today are very much dictated by the state. In 1971, I think the state dictated 17 credits, and of those 17, schools could decide 15 of them. Something like that. The majority of the decision-making was made at your level. What it took, how stringent it was, et cetera, what a credit looked like. In some ways, I feel like the biggest positive for us is, having been continuously accredited since 1971, I'd probably be embarrassed if we lost our accreditation. If we chose to step away from the accreditation, I'd be far less embarrassed, but if we lost it, one of our area schools, Zilla, they've never been accredited. They never did it back in the day, and at this point, they're thinking, why wouldn't we? We're basically accredited by the state because we do what the state dictates. It does put us, it did give us some great conversations about building SMART goals to help our students in a variety of ways, help our students, help our parents, help our community. So in that regard, it was a positive process. It's kind of redundant with the things that we have to do.
Jump in, the short version of it would be, with the accreditation, it's good, it's, for students that when they go on, it's gonna guarantee, credits, going outside the state. There's, it's unlikely for it to happen, but if you don't have that, you can pick and pull apart certain credits, and sometimes things won't transfer, and sometimes things won't, because you haven't gone through this vetting process of what those credits mean and represent. I think Kyle and I will both say we've never seen it happen, but there's always that it could happen. And with that, your English 101 is an English 101 there, and they can guarantee with that accreditation that transfers and kids get that.
Well stated.
Is that just a short version?
Just hearing that we're one of a couple within our league that does it, I mean, it begs the question.
Yeah.
Should we?
Well, it's also frustrating in that what we pay for our accreditation, I mean, like I said, 20-some years ago, paid $1 a kid. That was what our accreditation cost. So it cost us $250 in 2001. It cost Pasco High School $2,200 in 2001. Now we all pay the same. It's frustrating to me.
Thank you.
They should pay a lot more than
When we, excuse me, when we look at all of our peers in our leagues that have gone away from it though, what's their justification to go away? They don't see the value, they don't think it's worth it, they don't want to do the effort.
combination of all of those plus the cost.
Some of them look at us and say, why do you keep doing it?
I've had that question posed.
What do we say?
I said, because the amazing Mike Scrimshire loves being accredited.
I've asked us to continue.
What's that,
I've
Todd?
asked us to continue at this point.
I think that's wise.
So see, it does go.
Call it what it is. I've said we need to continue it. So we look at that down in the future, and we did. We had a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And I said, right now, for the time being, we're gonna continue with this, so.
And we absolutely agree. Positive things come from it.
How long is the current accreditation good for?
The 6-year cycle. So we have one more step to do. We've already been told we've passed with flying colors with the verbiage used. So we'll have to go up and do a panel at the state level. And then 3 years from now, we'll have to do an interim presentation, prove that we are achieving some of the goals we've set. Excuse me, and then 6 years from now, we'll have to start it over.
Okay. Thank you, Miller.
Miller, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna move on. Reports are done, so we're flipping to the back. Board calendar review. Next meeting is April 28th. We'll do our standard accounts payable, budget enrollment status. Ms. Keely Gant will be here for CTE updates, and I will have new district calendars. Talking about those today, Kev. Tomorrow, so we'll have some calendars for you to look at. I'll give you an update on conferences and continue our business next month.
Anything further for the good of the district? Good, Michael?
Thank you.